So, 4 teams just handed teenagers the key to their franchise this summer. After multiple games from top-level prospects, the box scores are already telling 4 completely different stories about how safe the bet actually is. And this isn't a small thing. dybantsa, Darryn Peterson, Cameron Boozer, and Caleb Wilson were the top 4 picks in the 2026 draft, and in a lot of years, any one of them could have gone number 1 overall. These are the guys these franchises are going to build their entire rosters around for the next decade, and Summer League is that first real eye test where we can see if the scouting report actually lives up to what was said, or if it'll crumble. Listen, here's the obvious assumption everybody walks in with. The draft order is the quality order. Pick 1 is the best bet, and the later you go, the more questions come into play. In theory, this sounds fine, except that's not really how Summer League has played out so far. In this video brought to you by PrizePicks, the player profile with the most questions isn't the lowest of the bunch, and the guy who's putting up the most exciting numbers isn't the number 1 overall pick. Now, we already know Darryn Peterson has probably been the loudest story of the Summer League, for most part due to people's speculation of his love for basketball and his injuries, which to me is pure nonsense, because throughout these Summer League games, he's confirmed his elite scoring, but also has shown some major negatives. Teams have started trapping him and hard hedging like he's already a 3-year veteran, and the response has mostly been more trips to the free throw line since he's currently leading the entire Summer League in free throws. But what actually makes Peterson dangerous is where the scoring comes from. He's not just getting buckets in transition or off broken plays. He's shown he can play in the pick and roll, get downhill under control, and get to his spots with ease, which is exactly why his scoring just looks so smooth. Along with that, he's flashed real defensive tools, and he stated time and time again that he's a Kobe guy, so that end of the floor is highly important to him. If he can step into that two-way playstyle even a little bit, it'll elevate his game even more to where you can flex him in any lineup you may choose. But here's the tension with Peterson. He had 8 turnovers in his first game. He's absorbing constant physical pressure by design because defenses have figured out that fouling him is much cheaper than letting him operate. And that right there is not something that magically stops once he gets into the actual NBA. There's also a durability question that still lives in people's head, as we all know that Peterson entered the draft with cramping problems that they said was due to creatine and is now all fixed, but hey, you never know. But with this injury, it didn't mess with his physical tools at all, as we see him operating fine during these games, but it still makes someone want to wait and see if he can survive a full NBA season before saying he's the best in his class at the moment. So the question isn't whether Peterson is good, it's whether the guy who makes scoring look easy has already shown you most of what his game already is, or if he has another level he can reach. One thing worth noting is that he's going to be on the Jazz who have other guys who can score, so the pressure won't be on his back heavily, but for someone who have higher stakes than most people realize, that is Cameron Boozer. With Memphis trading away Ja Morant, this is fully solidified that they are entering a new era, and that era will be led by Boozer as they are fully bought in on him. Many people think that his game is boring, and some would even say that his game isn't as good as the others. But if you watched him in college and have seen what he's doing in Summer League, he's making it look simple and easy. 15 points against OKC, 18 points against Utah, 23 against the Bulls, 21 against Dallas, then a quieter 12 points against Golden State. Now look, do all these numbers jump all the way off the screen? Not necessarily, but it's the way he's getting his buckets that make you say, yeah, this is gonna translate for sure. When you look at Boozer, what actually helps him be consistent is the part of his game that shows up on tape more than any stat in the box scoreline. He scores from the post using footwork and immaculate touch rather than just using his strength. And he's also shown that handle to bring the ball up and initiate offense himself, which is huge as the NBA has transitioned from traditional bigs to bigs who can space the floor and ball handle. So with Boozer being able to do both, this is what makes him an immediate impact when he steps on the floor with the Grizzlies. And what's funny is that a reporter brought up his 3-point shooting coming into the NBA, and it's safe to say that he's not worried about shooting at all. In college, he was able to space the floor with confidence, so hopefully it can translate seamlessly. But what really sticks out to me when watching Boozer is how well he sees the game and how mature he is on the floor. For Memphis, that's exactly what they want. But here's the thing, Boozer's game is built on footwork and processing speed, and that's not some physical trait that NBA defenses simply can't match up with. Like yes, it's an incredible durable skill set, but it also means that a lot of what makes him special is already visible at his age. To build on this further, his outside shot may have looked alright over this small sample size, but it's still a legit doubt for some people. To continue on, Boozer doesn't have some standout vertical explosion or top-end quickness. So with the franchise now fully depending on him to lead the future, the real question is how much bigger can his skill set and impact go from here? Or does his playstyle leave him limited? That's a question that we all have to think about as we head into 2 of our biggest stories of the Summer League, but before we get into those 2 picks, we have to have a word for our sponsor. If you know you can play responsibly and have the means to do so, PrizePicks is the #1 app for sports picks. As we all know, the NBA season is over, but the World Cup is on fire, and for my basketball lovers, the WNBA is in action as well. When you go to PrizePicks, you'll see many sports to choose from, along with many different categories to select picks. It's pretty easy. All you do is pick more on a player's stats or less, and it puts them in your lineup. For example, Caitlin Clark for over 17 points? Yeah, I think she'll get that. Flage for over 14? Yeah, I believe in that as well. And then after grabbing another pick to finalize things, all I have to do is hit submit and let the magic happen. The greatest part about this is that PrizePicks is available in over 40 states, including California, Florida, Texas. And if you sign up for PrizePicks with code HMA, you get $50 instantly once you play at least $5. So either download the app or click the link in the description and let me hear your picks. Now, like I said, these next two picks are very interesting, starting with Kayla Wilson, who produced the single strangest data point of anybody in the class. At North Carolina, Wilson averaged 19 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block, while shooting a strong 57% from the field, but he was only 26% from 3 on just 27 total attempts. And that sample was enough to think that his jumper was completely missing. Along with that, his season ended early after a broken right thumb in March after recovering from a fractured wrist, so he hadn't really played a competitive game since then. And in his first NBA action, he dropped 35 points on the Grizzlies as he hit 7 threes on 11 attempts, matching the total number of threes he made in his entire college career in one game. But what isn't in question is the rest of it. He's 6'10". He's a legit rim protector who can cause a problem at any time. He's switchable across multiple front court spots, and this is exactly what the Bulls want to rebuild around. Now look, all of that is great, don't get me wrong, but here's the thing. The shooting could just be something hot that doesn't actually translate through an entire NBA season. Sure, in Summer League, it can look good for a little bit, but will it look as good if a team is depending on him to space the floor? Only time will tell for his shooting, and the same goes for dybantsa. I mean, 27 points, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 assists, and 1 block in his debut against Peterson and the Jazz is very good. Then he came back with 23 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists versus Sacramento. 2 games and 2 wins, and the Wizards said, we're done. So we only got a little bit to see from him, and it was very strong things, but the team pulled the plug early, so that's all we got. You could say this is why he was already locked in as the #1 pick for over a year before the draft even happened. I mean, he was the #1 ranked player in high school and chose BYU over Alabama, North Carolina, Kansas, and any other college you can think of. Then he went out and led the entire country in scoring. Some media people were saying that his buzz before the draft was similar to what it was for Wembanyama, but me, I kinda disagree with that. AJ's hype is there, but Wemby was just different. Nonetheless, on top of the scoring, he's got legitimate size and a 6'11" wingspan that has already shown up defensively. But there's something we must actually look at. It's that shot from range, going just 1 for 11 from 3 combined. That lines up with real concern that people had before the draft, which is less about whether he can shoot at all and more about whether if his college scoring will actually translate, because he leaned heavily on physical drives and getting all the way to the rim. There's also a strength question that came up, because since NBA wings are longer and more physical than what he saw in college, will he be able to outmuscle them to score over them, or will it actually be a struggle? All of this remains a large question with no real sample size. But hey, we seen what he did in college and we seen the first 2 games, and right now he looks like a star in the making. So you have 4 picks, 4 completely different amounts of proof. Who would you pick to lead your team? If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any further videos. I thank you all for your support, and I'll see you in the next video.